This lesson is all going to be about circles. So we've talked about how to complete the square of a circle, and now what we're going to do is graph a circle and put it into standard form. So given here is graphing form of a circle. So we already know that our center of a circle is HK. Now notice how it's minus h, so that means that you always have to put in the inverse operation of what is given here. The radius is r. So here we have radius squared, and so in order to get r, you have to take the square root of whatever it is equal to. So here, in example 1, it says identify the center and radius of a circle with given equation, then graph the circle. So we can say that our center is a positive 2, because here it's listed as negative, and we always take the inverse. And then we have negative 1. So then, in order to find out what the radius is, we have to take the square root of what it's answered to. So the square root of 4 is 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to first plot our center to negative 1. Once we have that center plotted, you're going to take a radius of 2. Now remember, the radius is the same distance all the way around the circle. So what you're going to do is just count 2 to the right, 2 up, 2 to the left, and 2 down. So once you have those 4 points, what I want you to do is connect them using arcs so it somewhat forms a circle. It does not have to be perfect. Clearly mine's not. But make sure it's not a square, rectangle, diamond, whatever you have. Just make sure that it does look like a circle. So here's another one. The center of this circle, since we start with a positive, we're going to have to say that this is negative. So you always take the inverse operation, and then negative 2 would be a positive 2. So that's the center of the circle. And our radius, again, you take the square root, so our radius would be 4. Our center is negative 6, 2. And from that center, you're going to move 4 units to the right, to the left, up, and down. And then again, connect your dots. And there's your circle. Sometimes our equation's not in this graphing form. In that case, you may need to complete the square. So that's something that we learned yesterday. So we're going to continue that topic before you're able to identify the center or radius. So given its example 1, we noticed that there's a lot of different numbers, variables. Yesterday when we talked about completing the square, we only had x's. So what we can do is we can group these together. So here you have an x squared and a plus 2x. I'm going to move that to the side and group my x's together. The other one I have is I have a y and a negative 8y. So I'm going to leave some space because we need to find that c value again for x. So I'm going to say plus y squared minus 8y. And notice that we have our equals 8 on the end. So normally what we would have to do is we would have to move that constant number over if we had it on the right or the left hand side, but we don't. It's already there. So now what we're going to have to do is complete the square not only once, but twice. So if you remember, completing the square, we know our b value is 2. So to find c, you do your b value divided by 2 squared, which this gives us 1 squared or 1. So we would add this here, and just like yesterday, what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So this in a perfect square binomial would be x plus 1 squared. Excuse me. And we would do it again for the y. So b is negative 8. So to find c, you would do negative 8 divided by 2 squared. Gives you negative 4 squared, or 16. So what we have to do is add 16, but then again to the other side. So we would have now y minus 4 squared equals this 8 plus 1 plus 16, which is 25. So because we've completed the square twice, we now have that standard form for a circle. And now what we can do is we can say our center is our opposites of these two. So -1 and +4. And then we take the square root of our answer, or of our answer, and our radius would then be 5. So let's do another one together. So again, let's group things together. We have x squared plus 8x. And then we have a y squared, but notice there's nothing else with the y. This is just our normal constant. So I'm going to leave that blank, and then I'm going to say plus y squared. But we need to get the 7 to the other side, and I'm going to say equals -7. So let's complete the square for x. So b is 8. So our c value is 8 divided by 2 squared, which gives you 4 squared or 16. So we're going to add 16 to our x's and 16 to the other side. But when you have just y squared and no second term, no b, this technically means that you have plus 0. Okay, there's nothing else there. We have nothing to add. So when we write our x perfect binomial, we would say x plus 4 squared plus y plus 0 squared, because we did nothing. There's nothing else there for us to add or find that c term with. So it's just 0. And this is going to be equal to 9. So our center would be -4, 0, because it's the inverse operation. And then we take the square root of the answer, so a radius of 3. So what I want you to do is please pause this video. Try problems 1 and 2. Complete the square twice. Identify your center and your radius. So this is what you should have for the basic work of this problem. So what we found is that when you separated the x's and the y's in number 1, we have a c term of 49 for our x's. So we got to add it to both sides. And then we found out that we had a c term of 36 for our y's. So we have to then write our answers in perfect square binomials. So we would have x minus 7 squared plus y minus 6 squared equals all of this added together, which gives us 4, because it's -81. So our center would be +7, +6, and we square root that answer, and so our radius is 2. So same thing in example number 2. We found out that our c value is 9, so we have to add 9 to both sides, and our c value is 4 for y, so we have to add 4 to both sides. So here we would have x plus 3 squared plus y plus 2 squared equals 3 plus 9 plus 4, which is 16. So our center, remember, to take the opposite operation, because it is as a negative in our equation. So you have -3, -2, and then we square root that answer, so our radius is 4. There's one more thing that we're going to do, and that's write the equation of the circle. So if you remember, the equation of the circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals your radius squared. So the things that we need to find are our h value, k, and our radius. Everything else is going to stay the same. So remember that your center is hk. So we would say x minus h, and h is a +8, squared, plus, in parentheses, y minus a -9 squared, so that's why it becomes positive, okay, 2 negatives make a positive, equals our radius squared. So you're going to square that radius and get 121. So that is your equation with a center of 8, -9, and a radius of 11. So pause this and try the next one. The center is -2, 7, so that's HK. So we would have x minus a -2, so it turns positive. Make sure you square it, plus y minus a +7, so it's -7 squared, equals our radius squared, which is 64. Now the only thing that's different on this example is that I give you the circle. So we have to find the center point. So what we do is you can just draw line through the 2 points. It's almost like that diameter. And the same thing here. Where those 2 lines intersect is the circle, or the center, sorry. So the center of this circle is -5, -2, and our radius is, if you count, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we have everything that we had in the first 2 problems. So we would say x minus -5 squared, so remember it turns positive, plus y minus -2 squared equals 4 squared, which is 16. Your homework is numbers 11 through 22. So go ahead and try those, and we'll go over the answers tomorrow in class.